Good evening. Tens of thousands of people in Cairns are being told to leave tonight as the region braces for Tropical Cyclone Jasper.
The weather system is expected to re-intensify.
The damaging winds, heavy rainfall, they are all expected from today.
The amount of water dumped on Cairns amounts to a year's worth of rain in around 40 hours. In what's been labelled the worst floods there since 1977.
Biggest problem we had, as everyone knows, is that rain just didn't move. It sat over the top of Cairns and north for days, much longer than it was anticipated, and consequently we ended up having to manage the most catastrophic event that Cairns Regional Council has had to manage in a century.
The event was very fast-paced, and it was also the scale of the event. So it was staying across the amount of information that was needed in order to have a current and holistic view of what was happening.
It was an unprecedented event, something strangely enough we practiced for a year ago, something very similar, and all of a sudden we were there.
The sheer volume of water that fell between us and Mariba in that particular catchment, and then watching it come down the river and over the Kamerunga Falls, and what that actually did in the delta and the timeline, the speed of which that happened, that was something I will never forget.
Here we are on the Barron River Bridge, ladies and gentlemen. The other side, raging thunder.
The LDMG is made up of a number of core organisations that have a role in emergency and disaster response, and that includes Queensland Police, Queensland Fire and Rescue, SES, and then we also have the human wellbeing side, which includes the Red Cross, for example, who have a role in helping us to manage sheltering spaces.
The key challenges for QPS was the coordination of what our police were responding to in community. Responding to the hundreds of calls for service and assistance to help community through that response.
People were ringing for help and they were asking for police, fire, ambulance and SES because everybody that needed to be rescued. It was a sustained event, and it was also the scale of exposure. So Cairns Regional Council, quite a large footprint. So we were dealing with flooding of community areas to the south of Cairns, so Aloomba into Goldsborough Valley, those floods. And then that rain or the monsoon event causing issues over the Holloways Beach and Machans Beach area.
Here goes the SES.
It was two separate events that people look at and deal with very, very differently, that happened about 48 hours apart, 72 hours apart. Which gave us a lot of new challenges compared to having a single type of event and a single impact. Primarily, when you have an event like we had with Jasper, a cyclone flooding type event, it's making sure the road network is open so people can get to and from the hospital, emergency services can get in and out, people can move around. Then it's clearing out all of the stormwater drainage systems and then getting essential services back on, like water and wastewater. We went desperately close to running out of treated water. And with a flood that was coming up behind it, what that meant was, for example, if we had to run out of reservoir water and we had to evacuate the hospital because of all the dialysis patients or other things that were in there, you would naturally take them to the airport to do that. The airport was underwater. So the sequence of those types of events, then when you reverse that back, the criticality of that raw water intake is absolutely essential because everything else cascaded from that particular point. Some of the rapid response elements of our teams were outstanding. The real body of work didn't start until leading into Christmas, the Christmas week and New Year. We had, like in the parks operations team, 40 odd people come back from leave voluntarily to go and help people take waste out of their homes. That was outstanding. Reconstruction of roads started literally the day after we could get access in. We had trucks and machines. Another learning there was when you have a mass impact of an area through floodwater especially, your power networks have to get in there first. So to get into places like Holloways Beach and Machans Beach and all those things, there was 50, 60, 70 Ergon Energex trucks in there. We had to give them priority. As soon as they could give us the ability to drive through, we started to do that. So really proud of our response.
As a part of our recovery effort, we set up what's called a recovery committee, and in that committee there are a number of subcommittees. One of them looks at the economic recovery, so that's the small business and large business, the business economy end of town. But we also set up our human and social subcommittee, which really looks after the people aspect of things, and in particular the residents and how they're being impacted. We work very closely with the community organisations to make sure that people had access to support, to contractors to help them clean up. Council took away the rubbish for them. We did a lot of stuff like that in the background, and then made sure that any of the volunteer efforts, not just councils but other volunteer efforts as well, were as supported as we can be to ensure that they were helping the residents out there.
That type of event and that level of stress and chaos almost for that 48-hour period of time. There was very little sleep, a lot of extreme decision making being pushed into a very short period of time under extreme pressure. So I've certainly taken away that there is no underestimation of what disaster management can put upon you personally and as a group.
When you work in a disaster, it actually brings people closer together. So working here within the Coordination Centre, you actually form bonds with people.
I would just like to say thank you very much for the people that were a part of the local disaster management group, not just the council staff, but all of the other agencies that were here. Their ability to work side by side with us, to work together, to understand the enormity of the task that we had, and to be prepared to say, hey, I can do that piece, or hey, by the way, have you thought about this, or don't worry about it, you're doing a great job, and continually pull together. Big shout out to those organisations.
Job well done in retrospect. There's so many moving parts going on out here at the LDCC.
A complete appreciation for the range of partnerships that are required to stay across an event of this scale and ensure that the needs of the community are responded to.
I thought the whole thing and seeing how people work together was absolutely outstanding.
It really just solidified in my mind why we have a local disaster management group and how it needs to function, because at the end of the day our primary role is to save lives. And we did that.
Fortitude is what comes through to me. The fortitude of the staff, of the people, and then the community that have had to deal with this event now and ongoing into the future.